We're circling back around with some Neverwinter Nights Wizard and Sorcerer Tactica. I've been pushing up to the Neverwinter Nights checklist here, some different character builds. We've been exploring some feats. We've been looking at taking multiple character classes and looking at those places where we can get some synergy. Understanding feats, not only to unlock future feats, but also with synergy to beat that DC is very, very important. I am reducing things down very simplistically, but this simplicity is the elegance of the D&D 3.x tool set, where essentially everything's just a number to beat, a DC, a difficulty check. So when I attack, I need to beat a certain number armor class. If there's spell resistance, I need to beat a certain number. I'm always looking to have the maximum volume that I can. So let's explore this from a wizard or a sorcerer. Clickies. You have a number of spells per rest, per encounter. And of course, the wizard has the diversity of picking those. The sorcerer's a little bit more locked in. Sorcerer gets more casts than a wizard. You can augment that by certain magical gear, get additional slots, right? But there's this scale of this is what you have until you rest. Now, when you rest, of course, depends on the module. No spoilers there. But if you're playing something like Infinite Dungeons, aka Diablo for Neverwinter Nights, then you can only rest at those encampments and those checkpoints. If you're playing one of the quest packs or the campaigns, if you've cleared the monsters, you can rest. But you're limited in between that to the number of clickies. Okay, let's look at offensive spells and dealing damage. Because wizard or sorcerer, yes, there's buffs. Yes, there's like some fun stuff. Yes, there's some summons. But essentially, it's about lightning, fire, force attacks, pushing that type of stuff out. Now we get into feats. We get into Metamagic. And what you begin to see as you hit the mid to higher levels, where the Metamagic lets you amp up your spell ability. One of the Metamagic feats that you can take this when you empower is it increases the numeric values of damage of those spells. So if I'm casting Magic Missile, I'm going to do the maximum damage or more damage with that. Hey, more damage is better because we talk about my hit points, the encounter's hit points. I'm trying to get the encounter hit points down lower, faster, quicker than my hit points. They've got heals, I've got heals. They've got damage reduction, I've got concealment. They've got magic resistance, I've got that, right? But if I break through all of that and I do that damage, I want it to be the maximum amount. Okay, right? Makes sense. Who doesn't want to maximize things? Metamagic, power, maximize. But it occupies a higher spell slot. So what you see early on is I don't want to maximize / empower my first level spells because they're going to occupy higher spell slots that if I have those spell slots available, I want to utilize them. It only happens, mid to later in game where the empowerments make sense. But the question here is you are occupying spell slots much, much higher. And some of those spells at the higher levels, they put out more damage than the enhanced lower level spells. So you get to a point, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear in the comments, yes or no. The empowerments as feats are not worth it. I would rather have more clickies and spam out more stuff, or especially when combined with haste or abilities to cut down cast time. More spells is always better for the encounter. I don't want to run out of spells. And I have to keep in mind at the higher levels, there's going to be stuff like magic resistance. There's going to be damage reduction. There's going to be annoying things like another monster or effect or object healing. They're going to be consuming potions. So not every clicky is going to be able to bypass all those factors in that one hit. I can maximize the maximum amount of damage. One or two of those is going to be negated. That leaves two other possible casts. Or I can have 6 or 8 or more casts of that. Generally speaking, there is some truth in this. Spam is best. the maximum amount is best. And empowering lower level stuff, enhancing, maximizing lower level stuff, it's often better just to take the higher level stuff and focus on trying to get more spell slots and upgrades from that perspective. So in terms of a wizard and sorcerer, the game, and this is built on the D&D 3.5, 3.0, 3.x engine, it wants you to kind of empower your spells, enhance your spells, right? Really juice them up, absolute meta magic. That holdover from the tabletop game is different than the digital adaptation of it. Generally speaking, more clickies, better. What this means is, much like brew potion, you're never really going to take them. You're never really going to utilize them, which from a tactical perspective now opens up a ton of other feats to enhance your wizard or your sorcerer, especially if you're doing a one-level dip into something like Shadow Dancer, or you're doing a one-level dip to kind of open up some other non-arcane feats and pile into there. So in many ways, on paper, it looks like the Metamagic feats will make you more powerful. They actually won't. They'll burn spell slots. I'd rather have more clickies, and I'd rather use my feats for other things to overall empower my wizard. Arcane defense, specializations, spell penetration. There's also a sidebar, concentration early on, combat casting. It wants you to take that. That's a feat. That's a feat. Gives me a nice little bonus early on. But I can very quickly, given all the skill points that a wizard has, especially because that wizzy is getting jacked up on intelligence, more skill points as you level up, don't burn the feat. Don't burn that feat and take combat casting for that. Save that long term. Use that feat for something else. Because I'll get +4? I can easily get a +4 and make that up with the skill points as I level up to a point where, it's +30 something before we even make that DC check. No problem. So it's interesting to see how feats work. I think personally, I'm regularly playing a wizard, regularly playing a sorcerer. The feat structure is very, very different than what the game suggests that you want to play. So, turning it over to my fellow Neverwinter Nights enthusiasts, agree or disagree, Metamagic, empowerments, enhancements, still, silent, those things, yes, no, are more clickies always better?